Question 2. Alice and Bob, who are two mathematicians, each think of an integer from 1 to 60 inclusive. They then had the following conversation. Alice asks Bob, "Is your number half of mine?" And Bob replies, "I don't know." Then Bob asks Alice, "Is your number half of mine?" And Alice replies, "I don't know." And then Bob asks Alice, "Is your number twice mine?" And Alice says, "Yes." And the question is, what are their numbers? And at first, this question kind of seems impossible. Alice and Bob could have any of these numbers, and the only hints we have to narrow it down is this, frankly, pretty cryptic conversation between the two of them. The first thing to realize is that Alice and Bob aren't going to ask a question if they already know the answer to it. The second thing to realize is that them answering "I don't know" is not the same as answering no. What "I don't know" means is it's possible, I can't rule it out, but I can't guarantee that it's true. Let's try this out. The first part of the conversation is Alice asking Bob, "Is your number half of mine?" Now, this question doesn't make sense unless Bob's number can be half of Alice's number. So we know that Alice's number has to be even, and we can get rid of all the odd numbers. Bob then comes in and says, "I don't know." Well, the highest number Alice can possibly have is 60. If Bob's number was bigger than 30, then he'd know that no, his number is not half of Alice's number because his number would be too big. So the fact that Bob's saying "I don't know" means that his number has to be 30 or lower. Then Bob asks Alice, "Is your number 1/2 of mine?" So the trick here isn't to realize that Bob's number is even. For instance, we already know Alice's number can't be 3, so we know if Bob had the number 6, he wouldn't be asking this question. What we actually know is that Bob's number has to be twice of one of Alice's possible numbers, which are all divisible by 2, which means that Bob's number has to be divisible by 4. Alice then comes in and responds, "I don't know," which is actually pretty similar to when Bob said that the first time. We know, and Alice knows, that the maximum number that Bob can have is 28, so if Alice had a number that was greater than 1/2 of 28, she would know that no, her number is not half of Bob's, her number would be too big. So from this, we can actually conclude that Alice's number has to be less than or equal to 14. Then Bob butts in and asks another question, "Is your number twice of mine?" So if Bob's number was 12, well, twice of 12 is 24, he knows that Alice's number can't be that. In fact, the highest number Alice can have is 14, which means that the highest number Bob can have and be asking this question is actually 7, which means the only possible number left, the only number Bob could have is 4. And then Alice, knowing that Bob's number is 4, says, yes, her number is twice of Bob's, which is 8. And there you go. Alice's number is 8 and Bob's number is 4.